All right, recording in 3, 2, 1. All right. Welcome back to another episode of our Triangle Splash podcast. We got a quick episode for you guys today. But we're also trying to promote our content through our Instagram and Twitter. So and on our Discord as well. So if you want to join the conversation, check out the links below. Without further ado, let's kick off the first topic of the week. We're going to talk about just a really common issue that's happening right now is that a lot of the stars on the teams are starting to be injured or even worse, resting. So let's talk about some players who you can count on come playoff time, especially when the NBA stars are out.
So, like Angus said, this has been a really common theme with the NBA, with stars either resting or being injured. This could be due to a lot of issues, but I think one major issue that everybody's been discussing is the compressed schedule, where teams are playing a lot of games in very few nights. So, a lot of star players, for example, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Antetokounmpo, have all either rested or been out for a long period of time. And today we found out that Trey Young from the Atlanta Hawks also has injured his left ankle on a drive during the game today. So I think the players that can really, you know, be of help of your fantasy team when players and stars like Trey Young are out. I think I want to mention two players from the Atlanta Hawks that have been playing really well as of late. One is Kevin Huerter. So he's been averaging 30 minutes a game for the past 5 games, and he's scored double-digit points in 11 straight games. So it's not just the fact that Trey Young has been out, also the fact that DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish has also been injured with the Atlanta Hawks has given Huerter a lot more opportunities. And besides Huerter, another player on the Hawks has been really producing well the last, I would say, 10 to 15 games is Bogdan Bogdanovic. So he was a free agent signing from the offseason, and it took him a while to kind of settle into his new team and into the rotation. So just to give you a bit of a snapshot of his last 5 games, he's been averaging 38 minutes, 46% in the field shooting, while averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and also averaging close to 5 3-pointers a game. And as little as 3 weeks ago, he was a waiver wire pickup. So these two players are two players that have been really carrying the load for their team in real life, and also can help and carry your fantasy team during the playoff time.
Yeah, sometimes, especially with fantasy playoffs, is you just kind of need the stars to align for you. And right now, those two players that Brian mentioned, perfect time for these stars to align for them. Like Brian mentioned, with DeAndre Hunter not coming back or for a while, Cam Reddish, Rajon Rondo already left the Hawks. Chris Dunn, we don't know what's coming back for him. These were the issues that Atlanta was trying to face when they were coming up with the guard rotation going into the season. But now that the guard rotation is so thin, perfect time for Kevin Huerter and Bogdan. Great highlight players. So I got two examples. First one is this player. Actually, we've mentioned a lot. I think he's a fan favorite for us already. Is Bruce Brown of the Brooklyn Nets. So really simple. Whenever KD, Kyrie, or Harden has been out, which has been a common theme throughout the whole season, he always gets plugged in, plays a ton of good minutes, and he plays hard every single game. And by that, all that, it always rewards him with good defensive stats. But recently, even tonight, huge game, 21 points, 14 rebounds, 2 3-pointers. That's a huge scoring outburst. So definitely a good player to pick up, especially if he's on your waiver wire right now. Especially because with Harden and KD, they're having some big question marks with their injuries.
And I think also building a strong fantasy team also is very similar to building a strong team in real life. Obviously, it's good to have the stars carry your team, but when your stars rest or when your stars are injured, you have to have a balanced team or a team with a lot of depth to, offset those injuries and be able to produce even when those guys are out. So the players that we just mentioned are perfect players that can either be plucked off the waiver wire, or even like you know during the latter rounds of your draft earlier in the season, to always put an emphasis on those players, depth players that could really build your team in times where the stars are rested and are injured.
That's a really good point, Brian. Especially, because it is kind of like the end of this fantasy season and looking into next fantasy season, those could be like huge pickups at the tail end of your draft. You look at players that, you think that will play good minutes and will be very durable on their team, and they'll provide a lot of consistent value for you.
And one last point I wanted to mention is, due to the scheduling part of when fantasy basketball playoffs start, it's also nearing the end of the real NBA season, which a lot of times, with top teams that have already clinched playoff spots or have their seedings already intact, that they may choose to rest star players, and as a result, give more opportunity for bench players. So I guess that's part of your waiver wire strategy as well, on a week to week basis, to see, okay, who can potentially rest during this time, and who to plug off the wire.
Awesome.